Hello everyone, this is the Jenkins Platform SIG meeting, and today we're on February 10th, 2026. Around the virtual table today there is nobody, except me. That kind of happens. Either way you are, my platform people, but elsewhere, I hope you're having your best life without the platform SIG. Anyhow, we have a few topics today. The first one has been brought by Mark Waite, who's not able to make it today. So the Windows MSI installer signing certificate will expire next May, so May 2026. Last time we had to do so, it took several months of back and forth with the certificate issuer, the CDFs and others. So that was kind of an endeavor. So hopefully we'll be able to have less effort involved for this time. And Mark has said that he will likely start working on this project within the next few weeks. Thank you so much, Mark, for taking care of that. And hopefully it will go better and we should have a new certificate before this one expires. Ooh. Now, for the Java 17 and 21, the Java 17 end of life proposal. So it's showing up March 31st, 2026 in the admin monitor. So if ever you're running a Jenkins version with Java 17, so this should be written in red somehow, just next to the header. The Jenkins core 545 plus require now JDK 21, so that's for the weekly releases. As for the current LTS, which is 2.541.x.1 this day, the .2 is for this week, I guess, or next week. It will still support Java 17. So the next LTS around April, if I'm not mistaken, will not support Java 17 anymore. So the next LTS baseline will be selected March 4. And of course, it will drop Java 17 support because it will be based on a weekly release. And the weekly release have been not supporting Java 17 for quite a while now. So of course, the next LTS won't support Java 17 either. Now, we've seen a few bumps in the Java versions used lately. So for the 17, 21, and 25, you have the versions there in the documentation. I don't know if that was an Oracle patch day or something else, but the result is the same. You have a new version of Java for 17, 21, and 25. Speaking of 25, it's been there since last September. And the Jenkins core has been compatible with JDK 25 since 2534. So quite a while also. Now for the plugins, we are still moving some plugins to JDK 25, and more than 300 plugins are already compiling with JDK 25 as a target. So it's not a test anymore. The plugins are there for real. I hope you will pardon my not so good looking graph, but I generate one just about every day. And sometimes, well, the data is not that good. That's why you will see some spikes there. Ouch. More or less, we have 320 to 30 plugins reportedly building with JDK 25. And yes, we still have some plugins without a Jenkins file. That does happen. Most of them are outdated plugin or abandoned plugin. We don't have 600 abandoned plugins, no. But some of them are without a Jenkins file. And same with JDK 8. Some plugins still use JDK 8. Of course, we've been having some unofficial upgrading campaign for a year or so, but we can force maintainers to accept our PRs and just migrate their plugins. Some maintainers have other things to do, and maybe one day we'll have to do something pretty radical, which is if you are still running JDK 8, maybe we should not deliver, supply the release of your plugin anymore in the update center. Something along those lines. We'll see. There was supposed to be a maintainers initiative, actually that was the name, where some maintainers with superpowers would be able to merge that kind of PRs after a few weeks of inactivity from the main maintainer. But it never happened because of the bandwidth. And to be fully honest with you, I even don't know how the community would have received that. The maintainer, you don't have time to deal with that kind of upgrading PRs, and then suddenly it got merged without your willingness to do so. It's fine for the ecosystem. It's great for the product. But for community maintenance or, I don't know, but as it never happened, who cares? Right? Um, Now, there is still this project handled by Mark Wade. Thank you for that, Mark. Which list where we are with merge to JDK25 for the project itself. And so some were closed, but most of them got just merged. So we're pretty good with that. And now, because everything has a beginning and an end, in March 2029, so 3 years from now, users will be warned that Java 25 will be reaching out its end of support in the Jenkins project. So I guess this will be like what we have for JDK 17 these days, right? And if you want to know more about that, there is the 2+2+2 Java Jenkins enhancement project, which has been discussed for a few years now. And you will find blog posts about that and links from the blog post into the official JEP so that you know what's going on. So 2 years of it works for us, it's accepted, supported. 2 years of it, the reference, and 2 years, oh, be careful, it's going to be deprecated 2 years from now. And that's the plan, at least. And I think that's the first time for Java 25 that we implement that, but it will be the case for the next LTS to come. Let's move to the container image updates for the Jenkins controller. So we've been running the 2 and 541.1 for a few weeks now. It was released on January 21. So far, so good. In this LTS, what did we see? It was the first with Java 25 images, if I'm not mistaken. And we are still building Windows 2019 and Windows 2022 images. And of course, maybe we'll discuss that a little bit later in this meeting. We'll try to go to Windows 2025 as 2019 is not supported anymore by Microsoft. And for the dependency updates, we bumped the Alpine Linux version, UB9, and Red Hat Enterprise Linux. The next one is a minor version. It's to 541.2, and it's scheduled for February 18th. So next week, next Wednesday, the Wednesday of next week. If I'm not mistaken, it will be Shalini once again with Chris Stern or Chris Stern all by themselves. I'm not so sure, to be honest. But anyway, thanks to the contributors who make that happen. Thank you so much. And as for the weeklies, yes, we have quite a lot of weeklies lately. It's just because we skipped last Platform SIG because we had the contributors summit that same week, so it felt reasonable to just postpone. And that's why we have those 4 instead of 2, because this meeting is a bi-weekly meeting. On the new features and improvement, we saw that we are back with Windows 2019 and Windows 2022 images. We also have the new plugin installation manager tool 2.14.0. Hervé worked on retrieving the WAR SHA during build, but also verifying the WAR signature when not knowing it, so that we don't have any security issue with that. We also, I think it's also Hervé. Thank you so much, Hervé, for this work. We also removed the weekly and LTS differentiations in the bake file, which has no implication, for the end user. It's just internal things regarding that. So that won't change anything for you, but nonetheless, it will be easier to maintain thanks to this simplification. And now we're also using Docker Bake to generate the Docker compose file, which is pretty cool. As for the dependency updates, we saw that earlier at this meeting. We bumped the JDK 17 to 25 versions, and also Alpine Linux to 3.23.3, and Rachel, how am I supposed to say that? Red Hat Enterprise Linux to the latest version. Now, for the SSH agent, we saw 3 new releases, and one breaking change is that we stopped providing Windows 8009 images. So it's a breaking change unless you just don't use it. If you were already using another image, then that won't make any change for you. Dependency updates, the usual suspect: Alpine Linux, Debian Trixie, JDK 21.17, and Git on Windows. Now, for the Docker agent, we had 7 releases. Oh, there are definitely some people working in the community. Same breaking change. We stopped providing Windows 1809 images, and a bug fix regarding J-Link for JDK 25. I think I was the one supplying the first JDK 25 image for our agents. And I was kind of puzzled at the time of discovering what had changed between the 21 and 25. We used to use J-Link for as long as I remember to just make some smaller images. And it proved being useful because we were sharing around 200 megabytes at the time when using J-Link compared to when not using J-Link. So J-Link, I don't know the magic it does, but it cleans up your installation and just compresses it so that it takes less space and removes all the things that you don't need. And in the past, you just say that you were grabbing all the modules that were delivered with the JDK, and automatically you were still sharing 200 megabytes. From JDK 24, you now have to list all the modules that you would like to have in the J-Link produced binaries. And that's where I started with a very minimal set that worked for me, for my use cases. So I just listed a few modules to make it as small as possible, and it worked, at least for me, at least for some time. But then Valentin Delay later on discovered that that was not enough for his use case. So he added the java.net, which I don't know why I was not needing that module. And then the community discussed, should we still use J-Link or not? So the consensus was that it was maybe too risky to use J-Link until we exactly know which modules we should include with J-Link. Right. So, as far as I know, Valentin is still making some tries to see if it's enough. The adding of Java.net was enough for his use case, but who knows? Somebody else may miss another module. So we'll see where this goes. So for the time being, we are just not using J-Link anymore to supply JDK 25 based images, at least for now, until we know more. Now, the dependency updates, we have bumped Debian Trixie Linux, Alpine Linux, UB9, and of course, JDK 17 to 25, and also at the other agent, the Git version on Windows. That's for the work that was delivered. Now, for the work in progress on images, for the controller, we have currently PR trying to have the health check instruction that could prove helpful, whenever you're using Docker Compose or other ways to verify that your container is doing great. So the user proposed first to use /login a endpoint, but Jenkins has been providing the /health endpoint for quite a while now. And of course, the contributor changed it. So far, so good, but it still has to go through a round of reviews before being integrated. But nonetheless, thank you so much, Amdadul Bari. Sorry if I butcher your name. I think that's your handle. Now, the other thing I've seen is the adding of the environment variable substitution for reference configuration files. As far as I know, this one hasn't been reviewed yet. It's still 2 days old. So yeah, it hasn't been reviewed yet. So the goal is to implement the environment variable substitution for configuration files copied from user share Jenkins ref to Jenkins home during the container initialization. We see where this goes. I thought this one had been merged, but that's not the case. It's still in draft. Okay. It's a work in progress of Hervé regarding the. Is it still there? Yeah, the control of the Shah of the war, just to ensure that it's correct. Another one is the don't use Jenkins repo for tags and publications. This one is kind of complicated to me, so I won't dig deep into this one. The only thing I'd like you to know is that we remove the use of the Jenkins repo used in tag generations, so that we now use the Docker Hub registry, container realization, container repository, because we may need to publish this image on various registries as well. So using directly the Jenkins repo could be a problem. That's why Hervé is working on this one. For the Docker agent, we have a PR regarding the default JDK, which is now JDK 21. We also have one regarding the allowance to build some experimental Linux images. I think this one is by Hervé once more. Wow. So the goal is to be able to build and publish experimental inbound images using the famous J-link I was telling you about earlier. So by default, it uses the Debian Trixie image as base, and it could be extended to other distributions if needed. So that's the goal, to know more about, is J-link such a good idea these days with JDK 25 or not? The other one is linked to this first one, the JDK.NET module for Java 25 I was telling you about earlier. I think it's a work by Valentin, and it's still in draft. Adding JDK.NET module for Java 25 worked for him. Oh, at least that's what I thought. I cannot confirm, he said. Okay, let's see. So, the base modules I was telling you about earlier, the java.base, the java.logging, the java.xml, and java.se. That's the one that I had spotted that I thought were needed. Of course, they are needed, because without them, I was having some trouble. And Valentin added the JDK.NET in the hope that it will solve his problem, and we'll see where this goes. Now we also have one regarding the build from Windows 2025 agents by default. Hello, Chris. It's very deep. Yeah, hello. Nice to see you, to hear you at least. Yeah, I was almost done, but thanks for joining, and it's recording actually.
Sorry. Yeah, we can just
No, don't you be sorry. I feel less silly when you chime in instead of talking just to myself.
let me see the other questions asked. Let's see. Docker agent, Docker has other agent with Windows 2025. Okay, so which one you at now?
Oh yeah, I was about to finish this part. Built from Windows 2025 agent by default, so we're good with that. And yeah, it's the same thing for the Docker SSH agent. We'll add a Windows 2025 image for Docker SSH agent, but it's not as simple as we thought it would be at the very beginning. It was just not you add 2025 and automatically it works. It's more complicated than that, so I was spending some time on that.
Interesting. Yeah.
It is. And to top it up, we also have now Windows builds which are unstable for whatever reason. Yeah, Mark and Hervé have been discussing that in this issue, but nobody had the perfect answer yet to why this is happening. We don't know yet. Hervé has found some workaround. Mark isn't against them, but for the time being, we still have to identify what the root cause may be. It may be have to do something with the SSD, the way the SSDs are configured on these VMs, but we're even not sure. So we'll see when we have time to. Yeah,
Okay.
too bad.
Yeah.
And
So
then yeah, sorry, go ahead.
so does this issue has anything to do like the ATH problem before? Because I think Timja and the others fixed it and the PR
Oh,
and going. So I think it's kind of like I'm not sure because like there were a while for a time like all the checks in the ATH repo were not passing because of some issue, but no one knew why.
oh, yep. We'll
Yeah.
see. I have no doubt LA will find something because Windows is a platform he knows for sure. So he will find out. That's sure. Let me add you to the list of the attendees.
Okay.
Not alone.
Yay. I'll be
Yeah,
on top.
Mark could. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll be on top next time. Sorry.
Oh no, do as you can. There is no mandatory present or whatever. Everyone does what he can, so that's okay. But thanks a lot for showing up. By the way, I feel less alone. That's pretty cool. And the last thing is not tightly linked to the platform thing, but nonetheless, we had the contributor summit. What was it, 10 days ago or so, in Brussels, and we had a small time slot dedicated to platform SIG, and also talk, of course, as a proxy for you, Chris, regarding GSOC and the documentation of his hours.
Okay.
So no decision has been taken regarding platform. I told a few words about my obsession with Risk 5, but I'm still alone with this obsession. So that's okay. Jenkins won't treat Risk 5 as a first-class citizen this year, but one day that may happen. Who knows?
Yeah.
But we had a great time, and other very interesting subjects were discussed during that day. And Stefan Speaker, who was the host of this whole day, was a fantastic host and started some workshop ideas. And also, I don't remember the name he chose, but something where you are doing the things the worst way possible, having the worst ideas possible when it comes to solve a problem. And then you try to put the inside out and find good ideas from the worst ideas ever. And that was pretty interesting. We talked about how to handle the community, how to handle the new version of Java, and lots of other things. I do think he will be writing a blog post very soon about that. So, as a documentation officer, you will learn about that.
Okay. Yeah. I should then. Oh, okay. I should talk about something else later once we get off this meeting.
Yep. And after this contributor summit, we had the FOSDEM, so 2 days at Jenkins booth in the biggest, I would say, open source conference in Europe.
Well,
That's quite something. I thought we were 20K, but I was wrong. We were only 8,000 people. Only. Uh, so yeah, there was a lot of people coming to the booth and sharing the love of Jenkins and its stickers. What do people prefer in Jenkins? The stickers. Um, Joking apart, people were testifying about their use of Jenkins and loving it. I would say most of the time, and whenever they were not happy with Jenkins, it was because they were using an old version or unmaintainable pipelines, for example, because they were, all the complexity was directly in Groovy, and of course, after some time, it's difficult to maintain.
yeah.
But apart from that, we had some testimonies from big companies, big car companies, big car parts companies also. And it looks like, yeah, Jenkins is using very big setups these days and without sweating. So that was pretty cool. And last thing about the Jenkins at FastDem is that some people don't know yet about the retirement of Blue Ocean.
Yeah. I should probably open the issue. Well, I'm waiting for Mark to do that. If he doesn't, I'll do it. he says going to handle it, so I'll let him look into it first. So if it doesn't, like, it doesn't lecture me, I'll follow up.
Yeah, but we won't let people alone in the dark without Blue Ocean, because of course we have the replacement, which is the pipeline review, and some people were amazed at what we are already able to do with this plugin. So pretty cool. I love the experience, like always, and can't wait until next time if I'm able to do it once again.
Yeah, maybe next time I can go too. I'm not sure. I'll see.
It would be cool to see you for real.
Oh, that's weird. Okay. I might not say what you expect to be though, so maybe shorter than you think.
I'm not expecting anything except
Because I saw in the picture like you look really tall in comparison to Valentine. So
Valentine is not that tall, and I may be tall, yes, but Hervé is even taller than I am, so it's a shock even for me. When I talk to Hervé, I'm like that. Oh, you're there. Well, it was funny having, for example, Alyssa, who is pretty short. Hello, Alyssa. Next to Hervé. That was funny. Yeah.
okay,
She's just this size for Hervé.
maybe I am too. I'm not sure because I
We don't care. The right size is when your feet touch the ground, which is the case for you, I guess. So that's pretty fast.
Okay, cool.
Okay. I'm done with the nonsense. I'll stop recording now, and we'll be posting the video from 24 to 48 hours from now. And we should see each other 2 weeks from now.
Okay.
Until there, have fun with Jenkins. Bye-bye.
Thank you.